a certified abundantly living coach who helps women, particularly military women, veterans, and parents of adult daughters develop strategies for living abundantly from the inside out. Oh, I love this. I love this already. I'm so excited to hear your talk about conscious awareness of self and leadership direction. Wow.
Well, good morning, everyone. It's so good to see you, and it is truly an honor to be able to be on this stage. Whether it's in person or not, when we're virtual, we're still on the stage. So don't let
Thank you.
anyone tell you you didn't speak on an international stage because we're all here on today. And so I want to just share a little bit. I was thinking about what would be best to share during these times that we're currently living in. Lots going on related to leadership in the world. And so I just wanted to share, hopefully it'll be inspiring, encouraging, and reinforcing just a little bit about refining how we lead others. And so the topic for today is conscious awareness of self and leadership direction. One of the things I'm a firm believer of, I'm a retired major from the Army Reserve in the United States and learned a lot about leadership and working with people. And it was always very interesting to me how, when people were in positions to be responsible for others, they often didn't have good self awareness about themselves. And I think it's very important to understand who you are, what's important to you, how you lead others, so that you're leading to the very best of your ability, but also leading in a way that's going to be best for those that you're leading, pulling out what's best for them, and being really able to understand very different nuances of the people that we're leading that may not be like us. So we're going to get into it. And I'm also, because I am a woman of faith, here and there going to share a little bit from my faith perspective, which is Christianity. And so my business that I own is Inner Healing for Abundant Living. That's my main website. So feel free to go on that. You see that there is a little caption behind me that is a little QR code where you can scan for a free offer. And my business name and information is up there as well. So let's go forward. So from my perspective, some of the things that, as I said, is very important is to have a conscious awareness of who you are. And there's a scripture reference you can look up at a later time for that, Proverbs 11 and 14. So conscious awareness of self and direction, sharing and resources for personal spiritual growth. As a spiritual leader, that is something that we should strive to do, not just supervising or leading people to get the job done, but supervising and leading them from their faith perspective, so that they can own who they are and that they can continually see growth within themselves, spiritually and naturally. I think it's also very important to have cultural competence. We live in a world today where some people are not very in tuned to the cultural needs of others, and lots of things are being taken away. Things are being shut down, so people are being excluded from things that are very specifically needed for their cultures, for survival, and so that they can thrive. And so there's kind of like the rugs being pulled out from under a lot of people, and it's causing them to spin out in various ways. So a sphere of influence in a holistic way means that, and we're going to get into that, that you have awareness not just forward, but in a circle, that you are aware of the people and things all around you. And that may sound a little difficult to do, but the more you practice it, the easier it becomes. And then collaborating with connections that are going to be enhancing and edifying. I'm a family systems person, and so families are very important to me. We came from a family of some sort, whether it was by natural birth or adoption, or if someone just kind of mentored you, as I have been mentored many times in my life. So understanding systems and how families operate, I think, is very important. And then the communities knowing about the communities that we live in, and then those surrounding communities around us. So the way I like to look at it is knowing the community that I live in, the larger community that that community is within, then regionally, nationally, and then internationally. Because the dynamics of all of those cultures and communities change greatly. The wider we go out, the more change there is, and there's more to know and to understand. So, from a biblical perspective, in ancient times, Israel was one of the primary areas of focus, and leaders were appointed to have rulership authority to make decisions. And what they really needed to understand was how to do that with wisdom, not reacting from the or leading from their emotions, and doing it with justice, fair justice. That didn't always happen, but that was the intent. That was the goal to strive to. And so, one of the things that I think in the days that we live in is when we're leading people, we want to look at what's going to be best for them, not just in one area, but in various areas of their life. And we want them to be able to get to a point where they're enjoying their lives, where they're not struggling, they don't feel like they're just having to live from day to day, but they pick up and gain some momentum that propels them into the life that they've desired to live. And so, one of the things that we say here in the United States of America, maybe not so much, but at least we used to, is that we're going to fake it till we make it. I don't think that's a good philosophy, because if you're faking, then people really don't know authentically what you need and who you are. So we want to be real and be authentic. And there's various ways of bringing that out of people. So let's look a little bit further. So here is a perspective or a way that you can look at having that 360 view. So when you're leading, guiding people, even within our families, I believe every parent is a leader. I believe every firstborn child is a leader. And why do I say that? Because if you're the firstborn in your family and you have siblings, oftentimes you're the first one that has experienced things with your parents, and the siblings are following suit. Parents tend to be very engaged and very focused for the most part on the firstborn, but then as multiple children are born, they get a little relaxed. They get a little easier. They're not as hard or as tough on the second, the third, and the fourth child. And children pick up on that. So sometimes there's a lot of pressure on that firstborn child or first time parent or first time leader. So this is a way of looking at some dimensions of holistically living well. And so from the World Health Organization, what they have shared is wellness is for everyone. And the areas of wellness from their perspective, and I do this with clients that I coach as well, we look at the totality of their life, and then we look at the top 3 areas of importance to them, and then we scale that down to the primary area that we're going to focus on during our coaching relationship. So organizational wellness, occupational wellness, how are they doing in their career? And if the person is a stay-at-home parent, that is their area of influence. Then emotionally, how are they doing? Socially, how are they doing? Physically, how are they doing? Financially, how are they doing? Spiritually, intellectually, and environmentally. And so that just kind of gives you an idea of ways that you can lead people better or lead them well. So here is a perspective looking at it from a social, economic, social growth model. There are 7 areas of focus and influence. And each and every one of us that are here on today have our niche. We have the areas that we focus on from our business perspective, from organizational leadership, and other areas. So looking at this again from a biblical perspective, in the Bible, people were given charge, they were given orders, they were given a command, and that was from Matthew 28:19 through 20. And basically, what Jesus was sharing is when you have the opportunity to lead other people, you want to help them to go, not stay where they are, to grow. You want to make them into the people that they were always meant to be and help them to be the best. And not just do that with one or two people, but then ultimately do that with nations. So that tells me that our perspective is not just to be for the area where we live. We are to have a very broad perspective of the entire world. And that means that we're connected and that we're in tune. We want to have awareness of government, what's happening in the government where we live, and other governments, what's happening through media. We get a lot of information through media. Some is accurate and some is not. Education is a very important area of focus. Family, as I've already shared. The entertainment industry, and there's various forms of how people consume and participate in entertainment. Religion or spirituality, you could say, and business. These are some very important areas to focus on and sometimes to even help others gain an understanding on. So, as I just talked about, government, media, education, family, entertainment, religion, and business or economics, these cultures shape our world. And how we think about them, how we interact with others, influences our day to day lives. So, this model, this perspective came from two primary people: Bill Bright, who was a founder of on a college campuses called Campus Crusade for Christ, and then Lauren Cunningham, the founder of Youth with the Mission. And so they found these organizations and they used college, not use them, but they connected or partnered with college students to help them gain broader perspectives of the world so that when they went out into the world, they were able to live and operate in the real world, because college campus life is not like the real world for the most part. But they were able to do that with an awareness and a great understanding. And so when we take a closer look at these areas that I've shared, we need also to be able to employ critical thinking. And that is not something that we really teach as well as we used to, particularly here in the United States. We used to do a lot of things by hand. We used to have cursive writing in school, which helps you to fine tune some of your gross motor skills, fine motor skills, your mental abilities, and how they connected. We didn't do everything on calculators. We didn't do everything with iPhones and Androids because we didn't have them at one time. So it conversation and problem solving helped people to learn how to think critically, how to drill down to a very narrow way of life and thinking, and then broaden that. And we don't really do that very well anymore. So these 7 categories really matter. They're very important. They matter within each one of them individually and then collectively. They're building blocks for holistic living. And if you can kind of catch on, I'm a very strong proponent of living holistically, living abundantly, living your life well in all the areas of your life. So, as leaders in any area, in any environment, I believe we must establish policies and procedures, guidance, and guidelines that implement principles that are going to foster holistic living. So, another way of looking at that, I like to give people resources and lots of tools. And so, one of the ways of analyzing our life as an individual, groups, or larger communities is what we call a SWOT analysis. That's looking at the strengths, looking at the weaknesses, looking at the opportunities, and looking at the threats. And so leadership, as defined, is a ability of an individual, group, or organization to lead, influence, or guide other individuals, teams, or organizations. And I would add being able to do that well. There are many leaders, but all leaders are not leading well. And leaders should be able to lead by example. So if we would kind of be able to identify what is the best type of leader, I would say the best type of leader is the leader that has a good perspective and good handle on their life and is able to influence, able to pour into others in a healthy way. So another way of looking at analyzing is being able to look into yourself introspectively, looking inside, and doing that on a regular basis to say, what areas in my life do I need to shift and what areas do I need to pivot? And then seeking out resources on how to do that. Being able to receive input and asking for input, that can be a touchy area for some of us. We can give a lot of guidance and direction, but many of us don't receive input and feedback well. When it's positive, we do. But when it doesn't feel good to our inner being, sometimes we repel that, we push it away. But we need to get other people's perspectives on how things are going and what they would do if they had the opportunity to lead. Many times people have very good insight and they can help us move along a lot better and a lot healthier. So you can read the rest of that, what's on the slide. We want to give opportunities for growth and upward mobility. So that 360 leadership perspective I was talking about, and we're almost done, is being able to lead vertically and horizontally. Leading from a family's perspective, individual, neighborhoods, and cities. I talked about having that awareness. Then horizontally, regionally, globally, universally. And what is going to sustain all of those areas. So you begin to see that leadership is a great responsibility. And sometimes people are in a leadership role that they're not really ready for. They have not really been well prepared. That's why mentorship is so important, and it is so important to me. I love when I get the opportunity to mentor individuals because I can share with them what worked well for me and what didn't work well, and hopefully help to alleviate them from stumbling in some areas. So further defining your why lead? What's motivating you? What's driving you to lead others, to want to lead others? Purpose, mission, vision, and people are components, I believe, of the why. We want to do it for a purpose. We have a mission. We have a vision. And then we want to be able to share that and help others thrive. Socially, societally, and for socialization. During COVID, one of the things that people, and some are still at that place, got very comfortable with is not being engaged face to face with people. And some people have not come yet out of that. So it may be helping people to re-socialize, to learn how to re-engage. So you might also consider 3 additional areas when you're looking at your why or thinking about it or talking with someone else about their why. The impacts on personal and societal trauma. We as a universe have experienced various types of trauma recently and in times past. And some of that has been packed and shoved so far down that it takes conversation to pull it back up to the surface and then to help people heal. The needs of families and the need for community restoration. It's not only important to build and rebuild, but it's also very important to restore. How do we restore? What are the components of restoring? What needs to be restored and in what order? What is strategically going to be the plan for restoring and getting individuals, families, and communities to a point where they're thriving? And there are many things going on in this world that don't resemble any of the things I just shared. And so if it's only 28 of us that grab a hold of having holistic, healthy leadership and moving forward with that and sharing that with others, then this time today was very well worth it. This is a way, again, you can reach out to me. That's my website. That's my link tree. You can just kind of quickly take a screenshot of it and then reach back out at a later time. I love to collaborate. I love to partner. The more we do that, the wider across the world we do that, the better we can kind of wrap our arms around this world and have a great impact. I provide individual, group, couples, public speaking, as I'm doing on today, on various topics, primarily leadership, women's topics, topics that are important and pertain to military veterans and parents. I've also done a TEDx talk, and you can find that. You can type in my name, Karmin Jenkins, and that TEDx talk was on having healthy mother-adult-daughter relationships and the impact of having healthy relationships. So thank you again for this opportunity.
Wow. Again, where do we even begin? What an incredible talk. Like, so much filled in that speech. Like, I just love the embodiment of the full spectrum of the feminine and the masculine energy. Like, I can feel both. I can feel the drive and the passion, but then you can feel that like loving, holding, caring, empathetic, um, really
Thank you so
beautiful. I
much.
really loved the way I heard it was that you know, like speaking the language of others. It's really important that we translate that and that we don't just
Yeah,
have like our protocol and we reach out and you know, it's almost like a puzzle that we need to piece together. So I love that.
absolutely.
And your visual of vertical and horizontal, wow, really, really, really great. Thank you so, so much.
Thank
Um,
you.
yeah, really, really phenomenal. And I will definitely be looking up your TEDx speech. Thank you.
Thank you all so much. I'm going to stay on and listen to some others for the rest of the day.